Hello, my name is Nathan Taylor, otherwise known as Sockmatician, and this is a video tutorial to accompany the Sockmatician's Double Knitted Brioche ebook. This particular tutorial looks at the tubular increase. The tubular increase is a type of floating increase, like the yarn over increase, in that it sits between two columns of existing knit stitches, and it creates one pair of new stitches, a knit and a purl, that both sit floating in between. So they're not branching off like the branch increase does, they are floating increases. And it's called the tubular increase because it basically casts on a brand new pair of stitches, like a cast on, like an actual cast on, in between two existing stitches. And this is how it's done. We start off, as always, when we're doing double knitted brioche, with the knit coloured yarn at the back of the work and the purl coloured yarn at the front. And here are the steps. Take your pearl coloured yarn to the back of the work, going between the two needles, and then bring it to the front of the work once more, coming over the top of the right needle. So that's like a reverse yarn over there. Then we're going to bring the knit coloured yarn to the front of the work, coming between the two needles and taking that over the top of the right needle. Then we're going to take the pearl coloured yarn to the back of the work, going over the top of the right needle. And can you see we've got one brown stitch there cast on with the blue strand of yarn going behind it. That's half of the job done. The next stage is to bring your knit coloured yarn to the front of the work, coming between the two needles, then take it to the back of the work, going over the top of the right needle. Then you bring your pearl coloured yarn to the front of the work, coming between the two needles, and you take it to the back of the work, going over the top of the right needle. Then you bring your knit coloured yarn to the front of the work, coming over the top of the right needle, and take it to the back of the work, going between the two needles. And then you finish off by bringing your pearl coloured yarn to the front of the work, ready to be in the same position as where we started. Can you see now I've cast on two stitches, a brown knit coloured stitch and a blue pearl coloured stitch, and they are all there sitting, and you've got those little twists of yarn underneath the needle that show that this is like a little cast on. So I'm going to work a pair of ordinary double knitted brioche stitches before showing you that again, just to lock those in place. They're not quite as unstable as the yarn over increases, but it's a good idea to get them locked in as soon as you can. So let's show you all of that one more time. You take your pearl coloured yarn to the back of the work, going between the two needles, and you bring it to the front of the work once more, coming over the top of the right needle. You take your knit coloured yarn from the back to the front, coming between the two needles, and then you take it to the back of the work, going over the top of the right needle. Take your pearl coloured yarn to the back of the work, going over the top of the right needle, halfway there. Bring your knit coloured yarn to the front of the work, coming between the two needles. Take it to the back of the work, going over the top of the right needle. Bring your pearl coloured yarn to the front of the work, coming between the two needles. Take it to the back of the work, going over the top of the right needle. Bring your knit coloured yarn to the front of the work, coming over the top of the right needle towards you this time, then take it to the back of the work, going between the two needles, and finish off by bringing your pearl coloured yarn to the front. One more pair, just to get those locked in. Now I'm going to break that down for you in a different way. Before, that was tiny bite-sized chunks just to make sure you got all of the important bits of information, but it might be a little bit unintuitive for people. So now I'm going to describe it, exactly the same moves, but in a slightly different way that some people might find it easier to pick up on. To begin with, I'm going to take my pearl coloured yarn to the back of the work. Then, almost like I'm knitting underneath that pearl coloured yarn, I'm going to insert the right needle underneath it, wrap the yarn and pull a loop through. Then I'm going to bring my knit coloured yarn to the front. I'm going to do a yarn over with the pearl coloured yarn and take the knit coloured yarn to the back. That's exactly the same set of moves. And then I'm going to bring the pearl coloured yarn to the front to finish off. It just looks a lot smoother and more fluid. So let me lock those in and I'll show you that again. Begin by taking the pearl coloured yarn to the back, knit a stitch under it, bring both yarns to the front, yarn over with the pearl coloured yarn and take the knit coloured yarn to the back, and then finish the move by bringing the pearl coloured yarn to the front. And that's basically all there is to it. I want to just get to the end of the row, turn around, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like on the other side when we knit into those loops there. Here I am then back at the point where I made the tubular increases on the previous row. As you can see, they're very, very separate, sitting there 1 and 2. They're not wrapped around each other like the yarn overs were, and there's no double wraps to worry about. So here I am about to work into them. Obviously I've turned the work so my colours have reversed. My knit coloured yarn is now the blue, my pearl coloured yarn is now the brown. And just as always, I've got my knit coloured yarn to the back, the pearl coloured yarn at the front, and I'm just going to work into these single strands. Remember, they don't have yarn overs yet. Work into these single strands just as if they were any other pair of double knitted brioche stitches, like so. And then I'll work one pair beyond them just so you can see how that looks in the final work. Actually, I won't show you that yet. Let me just show you how to knit into the next pair. So here's another pair of tubular increases. 1, knit and purl, 2, there we go. Lock those away nice and safely. And then looking back to see what that looks like, you can see 2 very neat and tidy pronounced holes here. If I take those onto the cable, you can see even more clearly they just want to stay as holes. There's no yarn strand covering over the half of those the way there is with the yarn over. You really have cast on, you can see it there, there's a blue stitch there and there's a brown stitch on the back. They're completely reversible and completely tidy. They're very, very good at maintaining their shape and perfect for lace work for that reason. Any time you want yarn over holes to be prominently decorative, perhaps the tubular increase is the best one for you. It's a little bit more involved to work, but I think the extra effort is worth it for the look of them there, like that. And that is everything you need to know about the tubular increase in double knitted brioche. Zip!